Might call it the best part of this show.
It is the show, because otherwise Ben and I are just having a conversation and
a couple of middle-aged white dudes with beards blabbering on about politics and hippos.
I wish I could say that was unique, but it's not. What makes it unique is you, the people. And we'll get to that later in the world's most famous segment on this show, the Thunderdome. It loves the lightning round. Indeed. So we got some VIPs coming in. We already got Dan, F, and Brooks in the VIP. We got Gigi, of course, Aunt Chris, and Adrian. So I don't. Wait a minute. Hold
on. He forgot his drink. It's let's just say Brooks got an early start.
Spin move like Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yes.
I had a glass of wine on one of the G.I. Joe action figure towers, and now I have it in my hand. So cheers to you. It's just nothing special, folks, on this Valentine's Day. Nothing crazy for you. Just a red wine to say cheers and to hope everybody. Yeah. Oops.
Little pre-gaming. There was a little pre-gaming going on for tonight's episode, and
a little is being generous. Let's just say that the show might get fun. Let's also say by fun we mean sloppy. So,
you're right. Yeah, Gigi is going to have a field day with your mispronunciations tonight.
And amen. That's her favorite part of the show. So, folks, let's go. I do want to, as we introduce headlines, which is so creative. We don't need Jon Stewart to come back after 10 years to have such an epic segment. It's already here. It's headlines, ladies and gentlemen. I would be seriously remiss if I did not point out on this Valentine's Day the badass hoodie that I'm currently wearing, given to me by my beloved Gigi, that has embroidered on my left breast the date of our first date.
Aww.
In Roman numerals.
That's so cute.
Also has on my right arm, I'll show it for the crowd, an A heart M.
Aww.
And it's not because we like the mornings. It's because Angela loves Michael and Michael loves Angela.
There you go.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Also, welcome Eric Soul. He's catching up with us. First time catching the show live. We kept him company, it looks like, while he was cleaning his house. 10 straight hours of listening to us blather on.
Wait, you were cleaning your house for 10 straight hours?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, and congratulations. I hope you got it done.
Eric, let me just ask, as a Polish man who enjoys a clean house and cleans a lot, if you were cleaning for 10 straight hours, like, how big is your house?
Yeah, right?
Holy shit. Or like, hey, you know what? Look, Eric, we haven't seen you in chat zone. So welcome to the world's most dangerous chat zone, the Thunderdome. If you've been watching and paying attention, then you know what we're all about. Why don't we just get into it right now?
Yeah. Let's get right to the bad news. We can't enjoy anything. We can't have any nice things in this country. Nothing.
And as Ben just said, we can't have any nice things. Gunfire mars the Kansas City Super Bowl victory rally. At least one person has been killed and 21 wounded. Reuters. A blast of gunfire killed at least one person and wounded 21 others in downtown Kansas City, Missouri, when an NFL champion Chiefs were celebrating their Super Bowl victory, sending crowds of fans scurrying for safety. Police Chief Stacey Graves told a press conference 3 people were detained.
3 people?
What? 3 people were detained and under investigation for today's incident. Incident, end quote. And I was about to say, I have a problem with the word incident.
So this wasn't just one crazed asshole. This was a coordinated thing.
3 people is not a lone gunman, right? By the very definition, I guess, right?
Correct.
I'm curious to know how this all plays out, to be honest.
Very interested. We are only scratching this. And with all of these kind of these incidents like this, the initial news that comes out you have to kind of take with a we say this a lot on this show, but the initial news, we got to do this now. You have to take with a grain of salt and be cautious of grasping on too much to something. We may turn around and by next week, those three people, it was nothing. They were two of them weren't involved at all. Situation. We don't know at this point, but if it is three people, that is a coordinated effort. And it doesn't surprise me at this point. Any large gathering, I'm surprised nothing happened at the Super Bowl in Vegas. To be honest with you,
That we know of, at least.
right?
And as we know, modern stadiums of that size are actually built with like small jails inside of them
Yeah,
at this point, right? Um, so for this to happen at a rally, which echoes the Boston Marathon
mm-hmm.
bombing, kind of like not necessarily the event, like a marathon, I guess, compared to a rally.
Right. A
I
celebration. One is more of a celebration than a contest of some. But they were both gatherings where a lot of people were going to be on the streets of a major city, in one area, confined, so to speak.
streets being the most important thing, right? You can only do so much as far as like crowd control and letting people in those situations. Whereas like a stadium where they can have layers of security coming in, like there's the initial, like do you have a ticket? All right, wand you. All right, do you have a ticket? All right, we're gonna pat you down. And then the third, okay, you're officially now in the stadium. We're gonna wand you. We're gonna pat you down. How's your father? You can come in and watch the show, right?
Right.
Uh,
Great point there is that these street events, there is no tickets, right? You just show up to watch something happening on the street and everybody just crowds around the street, right? Parades. That's why it happened. That's why it's happened at parades. Same situation.
It's how they
There's
got
no
Kennedy,
security.
Ben. It's how they got JFK,
There's no,
Ben.
there's no security.
No,
There's no possibility for security. How?
I'm
What would you even do?
I'm sure they thought of everything they could. Let's give
Sure.
credit where credit is due. They probably had snipers on the roof. They probably had fencing and that. But at some point, like when I didn't see the number, I thought I saw 1.3 million, but I didn't see the number. When you have that many people who show up amongst the street,
And they only had 800 law enforcement officers for all those people.
you just can't control. Much like the basic tenets of society, you are asking people to obey the rules of order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we've, unwritten or not. Like, look, this is a public event. Like, okay, look, I was about to go like, what the purpose of this was. We don't know. We can't speculate at this point. We don't know enough about any motive or anything like that, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's a I was going to say fantastic story, and I don't mean fantastic in the like it's great. I mean fantastic in that like this happened.
Yeah.
We
I'm
are.
almost desensitized to it at this point, man.
I was just about to say we are in 2024, and these mass shootings happen so frequently now
And we know
that
nothing's going to happen to change anything.
we're just
There's no
numb
there's
to it.
there's no urgency. There's nothing. We just accept it. That's really where we're at. It's American gun culture. It's where we're at. We're not going backwards. There's no movement. There's no groundswell, if you will, of people wanting to truly push back and elect officials who want to institute some sort of gun control. There's nothing. There's no movement for that. There's nothing. There's no.
Chuck.
There's nothing. So we're going to have more of these, and we'll just keep talking about them and be sad about the fact that this continues to happen and be sad that nothing is going to come from this. Nothing will change. Nothing will happen.
I and Chris, I don't mind the idea of everybody carrying a firearm, or at least like looking out there and being like, most of these people are sane, and most of these people are of right mind and might be carrying a firearm.
But most of the people carrying a firearm are doing it for
Show.
personal protection from this idea that they are going to become under attack and they are going to be need to be the hero to end the threat. And time and time again it's shown that there is no good guy with a gun. Very rarely is there a good guy with a gun.
There are situations.
Very rarely.
I don't know if there was open carry there. I want to just go back to the
Yeah.
Thunderdome, right? I don't know if there's open carry there in Kansas City, but it's Missouri, so
Anything is possible. So let me look. Let's look it up. I'll Google it.
Chuck Davis, again, the world's most dangerous chat zone, also acts as the world's most accurate fact checkers. And Chuck Davis says, yes, it's open carry there.
Yes, it is. Across most of Missouri, open carry is allowed. However,
And
Kansas City has more restrictions than the state.
I wouldn't doubt it. I guess Kansas City is the more hip, more progressive city in Missouri, as opposed to, I don't know, St. Louis. Um, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
Also,
no permit is required.
That's just a Missouri thing, right? No permit. Like anybody can buy a gun. Anybody.
That's just it. Like
Anybody.
if everyone was going to be well trained, if we just treated guns like cars, we would be much safer.
I take it one step. One of my favorite in the dying world that is Twitter or X. One of my favorite follows pointed out that he's scuba certified and he's also a scuba certified trainer. And there are national standards based on military protocol for scuba certification. You have to meet certain requirements, certain amount of training hours, and a certain amount of experience to get your whatevers in the diving world.
Mm-hmm.
Again, based on Navy, U.S. Navy protocols.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't there similar protocols in place regarding weapons, firearms specifically, and military protocols that you have to go through so much training, so many hours of training, so many hours on the shooting range, and hours decommissioning, taking apart your rifle, putting it back together, all of the things that constitute being a responsible gun owner? Why aren't there similar
I'll tell you why.
laws? Oh, please.
It's very simple.
Okay.
The NRA and gun lobbies.
God damn those people. You
I
mean,
mean, it really is what it comes down to. They have instituted. I'm telling you, I keep saying this over and over. But the NRA and gun lobbies have since the cigarette industry got taken down and got held responsible for the damages that they were doing to the consumer. The gun lobbies and the gun manufacturers started their lobbies to specifically protect themselves from being held responsible for any of this and purposefully undermining the ATF and law enforcement when it comes to gun restrictions and gun laws. It is all purposefully, and it's all put in and slipped into bills. All the stuff that the conservatives yell about nowadays when it comes to the bills. Oh, why don't we just do one thing at one time? Well, to answer your question, pork has been slipped into bills in the last few decades that have basically made it impossible to regulate the gun industry on any level. The gun manufacturers are not responsible for the weapons once they leave the factories. The gun dealers are not responsible for keeping track of their inventory and protecting their inventory. And gun owners are not held responsible for registering their weapons and keeping them safe and keeping them from being stolen and keeping them out of the hands of children and all of those things. So it's from top to bottom. It's not my fucking problem, but I want my fucking guns. And that's where we're at in America. No one wants to deal with the repercussions of what happens when everyone has guns, but everybody wants to have guns because they want to feel protected. And it's this mass paranoia that we live amongst, where people are genuinely afraid that someone's going to kick in their door and kill their entire family, and it's going to be their responsibility to defend their family with a gun. It's like most those situations don't happen just on random. Yeah, it might. Yes, there might be some whack out serial killer that's going to kick in your door, but the chances of that are so slim. And the fact that you need multiple guns, okay, maybe you want a handgun for that one situation. You're going to keep it
High-powered
next to you,
rifles.
but you're going to have a cache of fucking weapons, and you're going to have a fucking whole safe full of high-powered rifles and hunting rifles and handguns and scopes and fucking
Grenades.
silencers and grenades, grenade launchers, all this shit to what? Protect you from someone, people don't break into people's houses to kill you, to kill the entire family. They don't do that. They break into houses for your TV. They're crackheads. They want fucking money. They just want drugs. That's all 90% of home invasions happen when people aren't home.
Simple robberies, basically, yes.
Robbers and thieves, the last thing they want is confrontation with another human being when they're committing a crime. This idea that you have to protect your home, and it's all this whole problem, all of this is from this. It stems from this crazy idea that you have to defend yourself, that you're under attack at all times, and you have to be fucking ready. You never fucking know. And not only could that guy across the street be a fucking criminal, and he could be fucking wanting to kill you, but the government might want to fucking kill you too. And you got to be ready for them. Like, oh my God, you got to be able to ready to fight against tyranny. Like, motherfuckers, there's no fighting against the American military. You are going to do nothing. If they wanted to come get your guns, they would kick in your door and they would be on you before you knew what was fucking happening.
Actually, now if Ukraine has told us anything, they won't be kicking. They're just gonna send a drone. Look, they're just gonna send a drone or two, and you're done.
Right.
It's so small, it's not gonna show up on whatever sensors or radar you might have.
Yeah, stand strong against the government. Why don't you?
We don't want to sit here and say that we're advocates for like the government, because we're the first to criticize it too. Sure. So let's not pretend. Don't get us on the bend that we're like, yeah, USA, but we're also like, yeah, USA, because for a lot of reasons, which we might actually touch on in the coming stories. But this goes back to the shooting that just happened in Missouri, here in Kansas City. We don't know much about it. The stories out there before press here didn't give a lot of details. We don't know what kind of weapons were used. We don't know how many rounds were discharged. We know at least one person's dead, and at least a dozen other people are seriously, if not otherwise, wounded. So,
I guess we'll catch up next week and find out more. If there's more, we'll definitely get to it. But if you're not scared of fucking the people that you live around enough, how about this headline for you?
Nearly 1 in 5 Americans believe Taylor Swift Biden conspiracy poll.
I hate people. I hate Americans. I hate everyone around me. Why is this a thing? What are we doing? Who do we live amongst?
I'm quickly going to...
A fifth of Americans believe Taylor Swift is part of a conspiracy to help Joe Biden win re-election in November. A fifth of Americans! What is going on?
I just called up my little Microsoft calculator, and I'm going to do a quick little study.
Yeah, because how many people is that?
That is 66 million people.
That's crazy.
The U.S. population.
This is like QAnon shit, dude.
This is the culmination of QAnon shit, dude. According to Wikipedia and Google, so it can't be wrong. The U.S. population currently sits at 331.9 million people. So 20% of that is just slightly over 66 million people. Let me repeat that. 66 million people. uh, a ridiculous amount. A fifth of anything is obviously a significant portion. 20% of anything, of your
Ugh.
budget, of your taxes, of
9% of people polled weren't sure. Like what? What?
that Taylor Swift wasn't some sort of deep state CIA plant
Yeah,
to what?
who that was put together through publicists and government dark officials with Travis Kelsey, who happened to be pushing, who happens to be a spokesperson for Pfizer and is also pushing vaccines. Like it, this thing is so crazy, and people believe it, and they live amongst us. There's probably people in my neighborhood right now that believe this shit. Like, I work with
I don't
people
want
that probably believe this
I
shit.
don't want to call anybody out, and I'm sure they're not watching the podcast, but I have a coworker that attended Jordan B. Peterson's thing or gig
Yeah,
at the Chicago
speech or
Theater,
whatever. Yeah.
right? Like, so, and that's adjacent to this, not directly related to this. But to be quite frank with you, this is, let's put it like this, okay? If you told Republicans, and this situation happened 20 years ago, 2004, that you had the biggest pop star in the world falling in love publicly with one of the biggest stars of the NFL. And along the way, they went from regular season to playoffs to Super Bowl. And the Republican Party are largely responsible for pushing this agenda, that this is some sort of deep state agenda, that this is plotted out, that this is, first of all, if anybody was going to do some shit like this, it probably would be Republicans. And
Right.
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 For
The Democrats are not going to go to
nomination.
these lengths. Like, they're just not going to. They don't have that kind of momentum.
It's those George Soros people that are that Democratic money. Look,
Yeah, no, this whole thing is completely bananas. The idea
beyond
that
bananas.
that there's some sort of deep state, and it's so funny, like the hatred that conservatives have for Taylor Swift simply because she opposes that. There's no other reason. She's a country singer. She's for all intents and purposes country pop, whatever.
She's
But
beyond.
they hate her because she doesn't like Donald Trump. And like they jump all over the fact that like she was on the Super Bowl for 25 seconds of the entire broadcast. But there were people on social media losing their minds that, oh, Taylor Swift's on every 40 seconds and I can't take this anymore and blah 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 blah. But it's like we played the Colin Cowherd clip a couple of weeks ago. Like, I can't believe this is still going on with these people. And then you get like the same people jumping all over Travis Kelsey for his interaction with Andy Reid on the sidelines, like immediately, like the righteous indignation of, oh, look at him, he's got to keep it. Look at think about the kids. Think about the example you're setting for the kids. Like, dude, I wish my kids were that passionate about sports.
I will defend that by just saying that if Travis Kelsey was a different color, that situation would probably be very differently covered.
Maybe.
That's adjacent to what what we're trying to talk
Sure.
about here, right? But as given the nature of the Internet Saloon, yes, 20% of Americans believe that there is a deep state conspiracy, that Taylor Swift has been born and bred to marry or at least engage in very liberal democratic ideals, even though if they took a look at it, she's a country / pop singer who's Christian, admittedly Christian, and white, which
Yeah,
apparently
from rural
matters.
Tennessee. Yeah,
Right. from the middle America, who's done everything right in her career. The only thing you can argue is that if you have like a moral disagreements with, I don't know, premarital sex, but
Right.
we could have a conversation about that, about how many people who disagree with premarital sex who have had premarital sex.
Yeah.
So
It's another stupid thing people care about. Yeah.
there's not much you can really argue in the way of Taylor Swift. The fact that she might be part of a deep state Biden agenda, only because she basically, again, a couple of years ago, there's some videos surfacing that she has disagreed with Trump, and for good reason.
Right.
But
Because she's, logical and human.
she's a woman. That's the other part. She's a woman. So yes, you should.
They're threatened by the fact that she's powerful and intelligent
And I think
and outspoken.
she's from Pennsylvania. I think she was born in Pennsylvania, and
Okay.
and I kind of grew up in Tennessee.
Yeah, because no bullshit, like weird wrestling connection. Taylor Swift babysat Jeff Jarrett's children when he lived in Nashville.
That is a
Small world, right?
worlds collide.
Yeah.
Right. It just
Yeah.
happened.
But
As
you
I
know what?
processed
There
that.
was much more fun things that happened around the Super Bowl, other than the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce nonsense, right?
Which is the first ever airing of the Super Bowl on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, they've done this before for other broadcasts, just not the Super Bowl. So this isn't the first time that Nickelodeon and CBS have done this deal, but yeah, it's the first time the Super Bowl has been done. So what is this? I know. I heard a clip of SpongeBob making a Leonardo DiCaprio joke about him. him liking young women that I thought was kind of fucking crazy that happened on a Nickelodeon broadcast.
So this is for you broadcast nerds and radio nerds. This broadcast, let me take a step back. Nickelodeon aired the Super Bowl. They had a regular play-by-play and a regular color commentary fellow, but they also had SpongeBob and what was that? What's the Patrick. They had SpongeBob and Patrick in the booth also, right?
It's amazing. The broadcast was essentially for kids, but adults were highly entertained by it as well.
And brilliantly plotted for children and kids or young adults that grew up with SpongeBob, given all of the Taylor Swift hype.
Yeah.
Give credit to CBS on this regard and all of their overlords for going, this is a chance to take all of this generation to grow up with this, because we know they're watching and the ratings proved it. We know they're watching, so let's do this. And it ended up being one of the most delightful, as Gigi pointed out, broadcasts of all time for a sporting event. We watched probably 2/4 of the Nickelodeon broadcast just based on the hilarity alone. And shout out to Ian Eagle. If you don't know who he is, I don't blame you. You have to be a real sports broadcast geek to know who Ian Eagle is. Ian
Eagle, yeah.
It's
He's a
Eagle.
CBS. He does all sports. He does NCAA tournament. If you watch sports, you watch football or college basketball, or even NBA basketball, you know Ian Eagle for sure.
I mispronounced his name. I apologize. He's a brilliant broadcaster. He has some of the most electrifying calls. And he's one of those broadcasters that, again, like Ben said, you don't know the name of, but when you're listening to, you get hyped up.
You'd know his voice. You'd know his voice is very distinct.
And he was the perfect choice to be in the broadcast booth for our SpongeBob. And they basically simulated the bikini.
It was Nate Burleson was the other one in the booth, right?
I believe it was, yes.
Oh, he's awesome.
they
Let's check out this clip. I think this is Dora Explorer explaining some things, right?
they had to, they felt, and necessarily so, explain the rules sometimes in these situations because they had a new audience. Go figure. They knew they were attracting people that were football virgins based on the Taylor Swift thing, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So here is Dora the Explorer explaining offsides.
Holding is the illegal grabbing of a player who is not in possession of the football in order to gain an advantage. Both offensive or defensive players can be called for holding. Say it with us. Players no holding.
Players no holding. Players no.
That's so. I will
so
go back.
true.
Okay, so I want you to replay this, and it's the first 1 or 2 seconds of the clip. It's
Holding is the illegal grabbing of
Patrick.
a player.
Are those guys trying to hold each other? Listen up. So understand what this broadcast was. You have legitimate stand-up improv comedians in a booth with long-term and professional broadcasters, and they're basically going, explain this game as if it's in the Bikini Bottom, the SpongeBob
Yeah.
universe.
Right.
And folks, look, it was more entertaining than anything that was going on CBS Plus, Paramount Plus. Nickelodeon ruled in this regard because
That's
it
so
was
great.
so fun. And that was the point of the game, right?
Yeah. Right.
Fun. All
I
right.
agree.
Okay. I'm glad we agree. Hey, Ben, if I told you that this is not a lightning round story,
Yeah.
and that Charlotte the Stingray was possibly impregnated by a shark at the North Carolina aquarium and is
What?
about to give birth
To
That's
some
not-
sort of stingray shark hybrid?
Folks, we've long talked about the end of the world.
What is going on?
on? Henderson, North Carolina. Hello. A North
What's up,
Carolina
Kurt?
aquarium shark lab
Shark
Are
ray.
expecting
Like, do they have
a s-
lasers on their heads? Like, what is going on?
are expecting to deliver a miracle stingray any day now. What's the miracle? Charlotte the Stingray, who is a 14-year-old stingray, hasn't been around any male stingrays in her tank. It sounds like Tinder. At first, Brenda Raymer, the first of Team Echo, didn't believe it. Quote, people have written and said that we can hold male sperm for years. And I'm like, she's never been around a male until we put those two little boys,
The sharks.
in here, she said. And so to clear that up, Charlotte the Stingray was in a tank, and they added two male sharks.
Okay, so they bury the lead here. There you go. The other explanation and more likely scenario is that Charlotte is going through a very rare process called
Parthenogenesis.
There you go.
That is when the egg develops on their own without fertilization and create a clone of the mother.
Oh, so it's a clone of the mother. So I was about to say that's only happened once in human existence that we know of.
Slutty Ray with the shark. Slutty Ray and the Shark Boys was the name of my clarinet quintet in my. How did you know?
Slutty Ray was Shark Boys.
How did you know, Ryan Hansen?
Oh man,
Folks, this might tell you that our idea of procreation and repopulation might not be entirely.
Does this lend any
accurate.
credence to Mary and Joseph and Jesus and that whole thing? Like, if this is possible, then isn't that possible? Like, Isn't it possible if it's happening in other species? I mean, I get it. It's only happened once in human existence that we know of.
Allegedly.
Right? That we know of. Only one other time has it been reported that such a thing has happened. But like, I guess there's some. I guess there's a less than 1%, but there's a small sliver of possibility that she was just,
Mary might have been a time traveler.
you know.
We don't know what Mary was. She could. There are two different Marys.
I think it's
In
more
the
likely
Bible.
she just lied to her husband about how she got pregnant.
Uh-oh.
Whatever.
Uh-oh.
Whatever.
You need to tell the truth. Speaking of the truth, this is okay. So our friends on the conservative Republican side of politics,
Mm-hmm.
and we love them,
Sure.
are pro-life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They claim to be, at least.
And as we've succinctly and distinctly pointed out on this show, there are several instances where they present an obvious problem to their ethos.
Yeah, like if they're brown skinned coming over the southern border, those lives, they're not pro.
And also, like if you're in the womb, it matters, but if you're not, it doesn't. And along those lines, our good friends in Louisiana have turned down summer food assistance, a
Monsters.
federally funded food assistance program that provided food, for
Children. Food for children.
for students in grade school who didn't have the means for breakfast or lunch, and sometimes even a dinner. And
this infuriates me.
Citing the need for self-sufficiency.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to Louisiana's federal spending and federal tax dollar income, maybe in a different show. But their welfare, it's a welfare state.
Of course it is. All Republican-led states get the most government assistance, always.
They're sucking on the teat of the government while telling their own citizens and children.
Yeah, government and corporate subsidies are not welfare in their mind. That's the problem, is that they don't see that as welfare.
A Landry cabinet member announced on Friday that Louisiana will not accept federal money to help families to cover their summer food expenses while their children aren't in school to receive for free breakfast and lunch. It affirms the choice that the state education department, which connects families with need and assistance, made last year. Let's just break that down. They are basically accepting free money.
They're not accepting the free money.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're not accepting. I say not. They are not accepting free money already allocated for this expense by the federal government. Tax dollars earned across all 50 states. They are saying no thanks, because that's earmarked to feed needy children.
Yeah, this quote right here is fucking garbage. This Matlock asshole.
Go for it.
No, every child deserves a safe home first and foremost, and families deserve a pathway to self-sufficiency. That is our primary mission. Staying focused on that mission without adding piecemeal programs that come with more strings than long-term solutions is what will deliver the biggest impact for children and families we serve. It's just fucking food. Give them the food. Don't try to teach them a lesson. They just want food. It doesn't need to come with a lesson. It doesn't need to come with like a book of what you're supposed to be. Just give me the fucking food. I'm hungry.
Ben, doesn't this, and I think Adrian is on the scent here. Doesn't this coincide with certain right-leaning laws that have been recently put in place regarding the elimination, if not relaxation, of child labor laws?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't this then mean, like in Louisiana, since you're not going to be guaranteed if you're below the poverty line, some sort
But
of
8-year-old
assistance?
kids can't go out and work.
Sure, they can. The fuck they can't, Ben. They can go to the mines. They look. All those 8-year-old motherfuckers are playing Minecraft. They crave the mines, Ben. They crave. Right.
Why do
Look,
we live in such a backwards fucking place?
look. I
I don't get it. I
I
don't understand.
there's
the
been
people we live
100
around.
years. There has been 100 years of trying to protect children against labor laws. The idea of being like children should just be children and be given a benefit of every doubt until they prove otherwise through either sustenance programs, welfare programs, education programs. Like, and here we are in fucking 2024, right? Look, according to the Star Trek timeline, we're only about 10 years away from discovering the warp drive. I say,
Think about it.
Gene Roddenberry was a little bit off in his prognostications, I would say. But here
to
arguing.
address Kurt in the world's most dangerous chat room. Give them the food, but shouldn't they be expected to make effort? Not the kids, obviously the parents. Who is saying that the parents aren't making an effort? Like, and that's a completely separate argument because this is earmarked for children, for school age children to be able to get breakfast and lunch during the summer. Like that's what this is. That it has nothing. The parents are struggling for their own reasons, and most Americans are struggling right now. Like,
and
then
we've covered
there you
topics.
go, Adrian. Most people on public assistance put in more effort than most people do.
And it's true. Like, give these people the tools to further educate, if not learn a skill themselves, and they will work for it. Is that not one of the basic tenets of this nation, of this weird experiment that is the United States of America, that you can work hard and earn a decent, if not really good living? Sure, there are people that get lucky and strike into something crazy, right? And then there's the other class, right? The money class, the old money class, people gifted in it. But the idea is that we all have an equal say and should have an equal chance at things. And that includes education. And when we are starving people, whether it's inflation, supply chain issues on that side, or adult employment issues, and that can range from everything from education to racism, to be honest with you. And then we start telling children that, like, look, we're not going to accept free money to feed you. Free money!
Right.
To extend and expand an off-season food assistance program. What are we saying?
Yeah.
What are we telling people? Besides the ones that we're telling you don't deserve food, what are we telling other people? What are we telling other countries? Isn't this supposed to be America?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this supposed to be the country that is the land of milk and honey, the land of the plentiful, the land of a grain? Well, we have enough.
This whole the propaganda of the welfare queen, and yes, those people exist. People that are abusing the system, those people do exist, but they are very few among the people that are collecting or that are getting assistance. I mean, this bears repeating every time this comes up, but the highest percentage of people collecting government assistance are two groups: the elderly and single mothers. Single mothers, I don't know anybody that works harder than a single mother, right?
No.
They'll work as many jobs as necessary to provide for their family, right? And the elderly are limited in what they could even do at all. Right?
But they're taking jobs at Walmart, being greeters and shit. Don't.
Well, yeah, they're working all the retail jobs that no one else wants. Yeah.
Don't think that they're just doing it because they're bored. Look, the people who take jobs like that are bored are doing volunteer work at food shelter because they're not collecting a paycheck at Walmart.
They're not scanning your shit.
Like, they're doing that job at 78 years old because they have to.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. If we're not going to be able to take care of the most vulnerable people in our populace, in our country, then, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing trying to espouse freedom everywhere else? Look, we could talk about fucking Ukraine. We could talk about this, and I'm the biggest supporter of those things. And it's not an if and or situation. We can do all of those things. We can. We really can.
Yeah.
We really can.
Mm-hmm.
And what better weapon against all the things that we consider evil and immoral in this country than to be a shining pillar and imperfect but perfect example to the rest of the world. Like, look, we can take care of these people. We can do all these things. We can lift everybody up who's been in a terrible situation, because a rising tide lifts all the boats.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if I'm able to give a fraction of my income to somebody else who might really need it, and it goes to them in a meaningful way, I'm happy to do it, because that's going to be what brings society up to the level. Then I can just simply take a weekend transporter trip to Mars.
Well,
Yes,
Kurt, I'll say this to that last point there. Dads that don't pay child support deserve whatever punishment comes to them. Like, just pay the goddamn child support. It's the least you can do.
Look, if single mothers could have 2, maybe sometimes 3 jobs to make the bills meet, you as a single father can also do the same to meet those obligations. Look, in those situations, Kurt, in those situations, we don't know the details, and the details matter to you. That's fine. And I get that. We totally get that. Not to make the whole show about that, but, like, we understand the plight of any individual, singular or not, trying to navigate the growth of a child and whatnot. But
exactly, Kurt, to put a bow on your point, but that they only get arrested after they have not paid for long periods of time, right? They've had many opportunities before that to rectify the situation, and they just ignored it to the point that getting locked up is the last resort to get their fucking attention. So let's not act like they missed one child support payment and they're throwing them in jail. That's not how it works in any way, shape, or form. Those guys have had numerous opportunities to get their shit together and pay their child support, and did not, or purposefully would not pay it because out of spite or whatever fucking weird, fucking reasons they have for not doing it. So they only get arrested and thrown in jail when it's the absolute basic last resort. So, yeah, there you go.
Speaking,
we talked about Tucker Carlson last week.
Did we?
We did.
Tuck. We talked about Tuck. We talked about that like 2-hour interview.
He's now since had the interview. A couple of interesting things did happen, and I don't know. We'll set this one up, and I'll see if it goes into the other clip that I saw from another news source that I wanted to ask you about.
So in the entire interview, in which he called basically Tucker Carlson a failed CIA applicant and an idiot, well, it's true. It's legitimately true.
I know.
It's great. He basically told Tucker Carlson to his face what we think about him. At the same time, Tucker Carlson was sucking at the teat of Vladimir Putin. So in this clip, again, I'm just going to trust the translation, but it doesn't miss far from our understanding of Vladimir Putin and his idea of world history. He basically blames World War II and Nazism on Poland this time.
Interesting.
Which, 3 years ago he blamed Nazism and World War II on Ukraine. But let's play the clip.
Все-таки поляки вынудили, они заигрались и вынудили Гитлера начать Вторую мировую войну именно с них. Почему и началась война 1 сентября 1939 года именно с Польшей?
Let's stop it right there. Why did the war begin on September 1st, 1939? Because you had to deal with Russia, Germany, and it was an agreement that you would start World War II by invading Poland first, the Germans and the Nazis from the west, and then the Russians from the east. But don't let me get in the way of expected and accepted history. Vladimir, go ahead. I guess we could start it in the middle just to go back over that the Poles, they played too long. Poland was uncooperative? Hitler had nothing else to do with the realization? Wait, Poland was uncooperative?
Yeah.
In what regard when it's being overrun by a superior military force on the east and western borders?
Yeah.
Do you really believe that Poland started World War II by simply being Poland?
Being uncooperative by existing, by not just rolling over and allowing Hitler to do whatever the fuck he wanted?
That's just a snippet of the weird alternate history of the world that Vladimir Putin tried to explain to Tucker Carlson, who, of course, was like,
yeah, I hate to do this, Brooks, but I got to give credit where credit is due on one thing. Tucker Carlson having the balls, or not the balls, but maybe, I don't know what, having the gumption to ask for that reporter's release, the one we talked about last week. I understand it may be some theater, but to his credit, to sit across from him and ask that question, hey, why don't you just let me take him back home with me? It takes some balls to ask that, and you got to give credit where it's due on some small level. That, I mean, but you obviously think that it was more performative than anything.
That doesn't happen if they didn't know what the immediate opposition to that interview would be, and if it was truly something Putin didn't want to be aired, it would not have been aired. Otherwise, Tucker Carlson and his crew would be suffering the same fate as Evan.
Point taken.
Hubris.
That's the right word I'm looking
for. It is
for.
hubris. It is, and it's placating. It's so people can say, like, well, he asked about the guy, right? Yeah, after 2 hours of a rambling alternate history of the world that only makes sense in the head of Vladimir Putin. Go and ask go and ask people in Siberia how the quality of life is in their dirt homes and their oil fueled lanterns, because 3/4 of Russians live in abject poverty.
Mm-hmm.
It's a staggering amount of their population that live in conditions that you and I would be like, oh God, you need the government to help out. No, the government caused those problems for those people.
Right.
And thanks to communism and the oligarchy that has basically overtaken Russia. And I'm not trying to, I'm not going to compare our situation with theirs. It is vastly, vastly different. Are we on a similar path? I don't know. Maybe. There's a particular presidential candidate who particularly admires the avenues.
This is an old clip, but even this week he said some crazy shit this week
So on the heels, yes,
regarding Ukraine and NATO. And I posted this story on my social media because I was genuinely shocked by the way he was speaking and saying basically those that don't pay up for protection, we're just going to not only let Vladimir Putin do whatever he wants,
whatever the hell they want.
We're going to encourage him to do whatever he wants to those people. Like, to just come right out and say that, Brooks, was full on mob mentality, A. And B, is telling you right out in the open that he is a fucking lapdog for Vladimir Putin.
Nowhere in the history of the United States has ever a president said in any regard that any other president of any other country or authority, head of state, sovereign, whatever, I will let them do whatever the hell they want. And this comes from somebody vying for the position of the most powerful person in the world. Still,
it's insane.
Literally saying that if NATO countries don't fulfill their financial obligations, which they haven't, and that's another discussion, but if they don't fulfill their obligations, the United States won't come to the aid of our allies and honor the treaties that have been in place for over 70 years.
You talk about our national security, like our national security without these kind of policies, these kind of statements, they make this country less safe because it emboldens guys like Putin and guys like Xi in China and guys in Iran and
North
Syria
Korea.
and North Korea. It just emboldens those guys. It sounds like a good idea. It sure does. If you're,
it's not about that, because to be honest with you, given I know what you're saying, Justin, and I agree with you. Like, if we have a deal, we should have a deal, right? Not all of those countries have been as prosperous as the United States, and not all of those countries have exactly been aware of the influence of Russia. Going back to, let's just say, Germany, Angela Merkel. She's been a known Russia appeaser, saying, "Oh, we just their bark is bigger than their bite," but then letting them do things that violate international law and allowing them to do things, sabotage gas lines and oil lines and take over energy situations and basically enact. Look, Russia during her time killed people in foreign countries via poison and radioactive pills. Like,
yeah.
You have to understand how global and how long this is. And we have talked ad nauseum about the patience of Russia and the patience of people in those positions that understand the long game. We get wrapped up in the immediacy of things, the blitz and the glam of headlines and this and that and the other. That's part of the game for them, right? We're talking about a a type of warfare. We call it asymmetrical now, but a type of warfare that spans thousands of years, to be honest with you. There were times when Russian envoys would be in horse and carriage heading to their European counterparts to spread mis and disinformation about into the kings and queens courts of those sovereign nations. This is nothing new regarding that.
What is Russia's space nuke shit?
So-
That's an album name.
So the a Republican member of Congress came out today, and it was there was a report given to. This is a complicated story, but also not a complicated story. There was a report given today in Congress regarding an immediate threat to American security and national security, right? And there was a particular senator, Republican, who came out and was like, Russia's putting nukes in space. He didn't say that exactly, but that's the narrative now coming out with this story. Well, the details,
it's probably the same people that believe Taylor Swift is a DNC plant.
It might be. Although a national security advisor to the president, Andrew Sullivan, is going to personally brief select members of Congress tomorrow about this threat. However, this threat is widely to believe the idea that Russia has either already or is planning to put nuclear weapons in space. Now, let's be very clear. Any weapon fired from space in a missile form is immediately trackable and not a threat to any ground.
Right. We'd have plenty of time to react. Yeah.
Like, we've already seen how there's only a certain amount of speed.
Ryan Hansen points out what the real reason is. They're not looking to drop bombs on people. They want to destroy satellites.
Exactly. Which, let's take a step back from that. Destroy satellites? Okay, that means your GPS. That means your cell phone communications. That means government communications. That might mean, this might not mean much to you, but this might mean spy satellites that provide critical data to things that are going on across the world that we make judgments and allocate resources, military or otherwise, to, right? This means being able to provide real-time updates to our allies as far as resources that our enemies, perceived or not.
It would be a big deal to knock these satellites out of the sky. Let's just put it that way.
This goes back to the Star Wars era of the Reagan years, where they were trying to destroy satellites. This is nothing new. However, in our information age, is a big fucking deal, because if you know enough about our infrastructure, which we know hostile foreign states have been probing for years, if not decades or more, that they've probably accrued enough intelligence to know, like, if we hit this point and that point and this point and that point and that point, we can cripple a nation economically, militarily, socially. Does that make sense? Sociologically?
Sociologically. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yes.
It is a big deal, to be honest with you. So it's not just like, they're putting nukes in space. Great, you caught into the headline, and I appreciate that for sure.
It would be looked at as an act of war, I would think.
What Russia has been doing right now since 2014 and their invasion of Crimea is an act of war. And if we're not looking at that as the pseudo start of World War III, we're not understanding the rest of the actions of those global actors: Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Syria.
It's like, it's funny. I don't know if you saw Jon Stewart this on Monday. He came back to the Daily Show. It was very good, classic Jon Stewart stuff, right? But what he pointed out in his interview during his interview segment is that there seems to be a coalition of like what we'll call the New World Order of bad guys, the Legion of Doom, if you will. There's the Justice League and the Legion of Doom, and Trump wants to be part of the Legion of Doom. He doesn't want to be part of the Justice League. Let's be very clear about which group Donald Trump would prefer to be a part of. He would much rather be friends with Putin and Xi and Un and all those guys at the bad guy table. He thinks they have power. He admires those guys because they have swagger and they have power and they flaunt their power.
They're authoritarians.
They're authoritarians, yes. And he longs to be an authoritarian. He wants to be president until he's dead. Let's make no mistake. He will do anything he can. The next 4 years, he will try to find a way to give himself an opportunity to be president forever, be king, if you will.
Can you name another recent president who has populated his cabinet and surrounding advisors with family?
Yeah.
No. And now here we are with Trump advocating for Laura Trump to be if not head of the RNC.
Oh, good.
Oh, right. Nothing could go wrong. And this is nothing new. And I know we're kind of running late, but I want to prove a point of behavior, a pattern of behavior here. Right here we are with.
I remember this. Yeah, I just have to. All I know, I look at the bottom left-hand corner, and I know exactly what the clip this is. And yes,
this is the same guy. This is the same guy that said this.
So, supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors.
This guy.
But it sounds interesting to me.
That guy wants to be president again, and 80 some odd million people are like, yeah, let's sign up for that again.
And he's gotten worse, by the way. If you have, if you thought that was nuts, holy shit! Look what he's saying now.
Remember, he also said that COVID was just going to disappear one day, just one
like
day,
a miracle,
like a miracle, disappear.
That's all it's going to be. Ben, let me ask you about miracles. We've been in churches, we've been in holy places, we've been in mausoleums and tombstones. They have been made of marble countertops, flooring, all made of marble.
That's very loud. Sorry.
Did you ever wonder how the marble was mined?
I've never thought about it, but now that you
it's in Colorado, Rocky Mountains. And here, this is how marble is mined.
What? Just in straight blocks like that?
Just tonnage of those blocks.
What?
Boom.
Yeah.
And then they pick that block
and
up.
It's so smooth. Like, how did they cut it like so perfectly? How does it? I'm confused. They cut it like that?
Yeah, they cut it like that. Doesn't that give you wonder as how the ancient societies built, I don't know, pyramids?
Yeah, considering that they didn't have technology anywhere close to like what we had to
allegedly
be able exactly, allegedly, or at least technology that we don't know about to cut large blocks with precision, even more precision than what we just saw right there.
I don't have the data in front of me, but I would guess that block is like 40 tons.
Oh, easy.
That's a lot of fucking marble. Quote me on that. It's a lot of fucking marble.
Yeah.
I don't. Why don't we skip that?
The deputy one.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
come
there's a
back
lot.
to
There's
that.
a lot going on there.
That's a long story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Valentine's Day, ladies and gentlemen, and we are not the only species on the planet that understands love and affection. And of course, we are ginormous fans of elephants here.
Huge.
Let me show you a video, 35 seconds, of the head keeper of the Athumba section of the Weldrick Wildlife Trust. It is one of their orphan reintegration areas and programs where they basically elephants from basically baby stage orphan graduate certain levels with the hope that they go ahead and get re-released into the wild. And here's head keeper Benjamin, who played a critical role in Mutara's growth. And Mutara kind of came back. And we have this Valentine's Day moment where the elephant is clearly aware and familiar with that human being, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can see there's a connection there.
And is enjoying the reunion, right? You can see where the elephant at the beginning of the video like put her trunk up and got sniffs and is just sitting there like he's basically like, you know, when a dog comes up to you and rubs against your leg and is basically saying, pet me, pet me.
Yeah,
I love you so
same
much.
thing
Pet
going
me,
on there.
pet
Yeah.
me. That is
yeah, Adrian is looking for employment opportunities with them right now.
it would be awesome to we all should, to be honest with you. We should also go to these we don't need zoos here, right? We should be able to do holograms, or if not, transport people across the oceans to visit these creatures in their natural habitats. That would be better.
Yeah, it's zoos are a conundrum. I love going to them, but at the same time I understand they're terrible places for these animals. So
wow, I don't know how to make a transition to the
I didn't either, so I just hit the music.
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Lightning Round. This is my dad's favorite segment, and he's calling for heads in the world's most dangerous chat zone. We call it the Thunderdome. And if you're not familiar with the segment, folks, let me explain. I'm going to read 3 headlines. I've got 5 saved. I don't know which 3 I'm going to read, which adds a layer of complexity to the segment because I'm going to read 3. You, the people, will decide which 3 are getting read in the biggest exercise of democracy that we could provide to you. So without dilly or dally, let's just do it. Headline number 1. Gang steals 145 tons of chicken in a bizarre heist of up to 55,000 birds.
Live birds, so not like even processed chicken. Like, wow. Okay, there's a lot of layers to that.
Headline number 2. 200-foot radio tower mysteriously vanishes in Alabama.
Okay.
And headline number 3. A man who spent years building Eiffel Tower with 700,000 matchsticks may be denied world record for using the wrong matchsticks. So,
oh my god, I'd kill someone. Gigi didn't even have to hear the end of the fucking headline.
Wait, what? Imagine getting that email. Imagine getting that.
Yeah, you would be so mad. Could you imagine you spent that much time and then you get the call from the Guinness Book of World Records like, I hate to tell you this. Oh, wow. People are unanimous on this so far. Yeah.
I would find a way. That's like a Kill Bill moment where you
correct. Like, yes, yeah. I have to go on a rampage.
And you're like shaving matchsticks down to like razor points and like
learning how to throw them with accuracy.
Throw them and shoot them like with a bamboo. Like like if people flock, you're pointing and tipping
Suddenly,
them.
people at the Guinness the offices of the Guinness Book of World Records are suddenly under
So
attack.
all of them dead. They're just dead.
Oh my god, that is his villain origin story.
Absolutely. Flap, flap, flap. All right. I don't know that we need to review them again. It might be funny to review them again.
Although the Australian guy's going to buck trend and he's going to go with number
Number
two.
two, I agree. Like that. How does a 200-foot radio tower disappear?
Like that seems like something that we should have been talking about earlier in the show. Honestly,
Maybe we got tied up with things.
Yeah.
But folks, it's damn near unanimous.
Yeah, I don't think we can come back. Australian guys, sorry, brother. Like the people have spoken on this one.
I thought somebody stealing 145 tons of chicken would also get more attention.
Also, yeah,
but flap, flap, flap.
Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, 2 and 3, you can't vote for it. You can't.
No,
you can't do that. You can't do that, Aaron. Come on,
Aaron.
sir.
Come on. You're trying to change the rules here. You young whippersnappers trying to change the rules to stuff.
Trying to vote twice. That's what they're arguing about.
This is why people have to think election fraud is a thing.
Voter fraud. Without let's folks, do it. We don't want to delay the show anymore. Without dilly or dally, you have spoken and we shall read it. I should actually, before we
send me the link.
Yeah. I'm gonna send Ben the link. While I'm sending Ben the link, I'm going to coyly let you all know and remind you that
that's the Eiffel Tower
appears. Oh, is that the wrong story?
No, you got it. No, you're right.
Appears every Wednesday, approximately 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have not already, please press the like button, smash, elbow, whatever you got to do, whatever like feature you have on the medium that you're viewing, because that actually helps us generate more.
Maybe share it out, tell your friends.
You can do that too. But I get
more people to join us.
Get if you're hesitant, if people that you work with are also on your social medias. We get it. Just smash the like button. It's the least you can do. Retweet, repost is the best that you can do. However,
8 years. This man spent 8 years. Oh my God.
Richard Plowd spent the last 8 years painstakingly piecing together 706,000 matchsticks on nearly 700,000 matchsticks to make a 23.6 foot model of the world's most famous monument, the Eiffel Tower. You could say Richard Plowd's dreams of making the world's tallest matchstick sculpture may have gone up in smoke. The Frenchman spent the last 8 years painstakingly piecing. He was beating the existing record by 2 feet. Somebody else, let's just rewind this for a second. Somebody else had made a 21.6 foot model, a 21.6 foot model of the Eiffel Tower at matchsticks. He's going to try to beat that by 2 feet, which, you do.
Right.
But he says that last week, the Guinness Book of World Records had bad news for him. He used the wrong type of matchsticks to qualify for the record because they weren't commercially available. The Guinness Book judges have delivered their verdict without actually seeing my tower in real life, he said on Facebook. Plowd, a council worker for the local authority, said Guinness told him the matches must be commercially available and can't be cut, disassembled, or distorted beyond recognition. I mean,
Yeah. This was our fair rules, I suppose.
Usually before constructing a 24-foot icon of the Eiffel Tower with your matchsticks, maybe consult the rules.
Right. You spent 8 years doing this and you didn't look up the rules at any point?
8 years.
Yeah.
8 years.
I don't know that I feel so bad for this guy anymore.
You should not. As matchsticks were not commercially available and were not recognized as matchsticks, the attempt has been disqualified.
He didn't use matchsticks to build an Eiffel Tower out of matchsticks. is basically what I'm hearing here.
The correct ones, the internationally Guinness recognized matchstick.
He used some sort of bullshit.
Big. This is a quote. Look at that.
No.
No, look at that.
Oh,
Look
it's
at
very
that
loud.
bitch. It's
I mean, it's
24
impressive. It's an
24 foot
impressive
high.
sculpture. That's an impressive sculpture. It's just not the right matchsticks. I mean, that is really goddamn impressive. I don't care what it's built out of.
The wrong matchsticks, Ben.
But Guinness gives a shit. And so, sorry, bud.
You are disqualified. This is his quote from Facebook. Big disillusion, disappointment, and incomprehension. It sounds like actually the Ultimate Warrior. Let me read that as the Ultimate. Big disillusion, disappointment, and incomprehension. They tell me that the 706 900 rods struck by one are not matches. They are too cut by the point of being unrecognizable. Clearly, the English are really different. No offense to the English. Which, if you know the Ultimate Warrior and Jim Hellwig, I hope that falls in line with your expectations for a review of his impersonation. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. The show is wrapping up. You know that music. It's closing time. So with that, I want to thank Ben for all the fun and correcting all of the technical glitches that were happening pre-show. You don't know about that, but I'm telling you about it right now.
There was a slight panic.
There was a slight panic. But you made it, Ben, and you made it into the world's most dangerous chat zone. We call it the Thunderdome. VIPs, everybody, Chuck, Kurt, everybody, thank you. This is what we're looking for here. We're going to present these stories, and we want your feedback on these things. And it makes the conversation beautiful, which is the point of the show. We call it the Internet Saloon. We pour conversations. You guys drink it up. And again, that's what makes the chat zone the thing it is. So from the deck of the USS Papa, my name is